About a week ago, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez talked about the fact that during the insurrection on January 6th, she was worried not only about physical violence from the crowd that was chanting that they wanted to hang Mike Pence, but that she was worried about sexual violence as well. Now, many people know she has talked about previously that she is a survivor of sexual assault. This is something that she both knows about and is rightfully afraid of, but none of that is going to stop someone like Tucker Carlson from turning this into another opportunity to attack the representative, as you'll see here.
Cortez wasn't even inside the Capitol on January 6th, but she and Lindsey Graham are on the same page. We know that because occasionally Sandy Cortez tells us about her lived experience on January 6th. During a recent special on CNN, Sandy Cortez, does she ever stop talking about herself, by the way? She explained she wasn't simply afraid of being murdered by Ashley Babbitt. She was also worried about being raped.
There's a lot of sexualizing of that violence. And I didn't think that I was just going to be killed. I thought other things were going to happen to me as well.
So what sounds like what you're telling me right now is that you didn't only think that you were going to die, you thought you were going to be raped.
Yeah, I thought I was.
Sexualizing? Get a therapist, honey. This is crazy. These people are mad because they thought the election wasn't fair. Now, you may disagree with that, but it wasn't about you. Surprise, surprise. Sexualizing the violence. I was going to be raped by Ashley Babbitt. Imagine some Republican lady saying that about a BLM riot, as thousands of rioters descended on neighborhoods and burned businesses all over the country. Kenosha, Portland, Georgetown, Green Bay, Wisconsin. What would happen if some Karen said that? It was sexualized violence. Can you imagine? Probably go to jail for that.
Well, he had that bizarre chuckle. I personally found that to be one of the most sickening things I've ever seen displayed on the mainstream media. He will, of course, suffer no consequences whatsoever. The amount of time Fox devotes to talking about him and his thoughts every day will only increase, as will his paycheck. But Adrian, what did you think about all that?
Well, I thought it was very ignorant of Tucker Carlson. It really shows that he has no idea what it's like to live as a woman, particularly a woman who has been sexually assaulted. But it is always something that plays in your mind, being attacked at all times. That's why we carry keys between our fingers when we are going to our car. We're always looking around, because the fact is that women are always under attack. And you had a group of individuals who took issue with the change in administration. They weren't just taking issue with Joe Biden, they were also taking issue with Kamala Harris. And the fact that there are more women and diversity and change being had. They do not want change. There were predominantly a lot of white males who were in there. And also we've seen the incel movement and rise. And also for Tucker Carlson to say that, oh, as a woman, she shouldn't have been concerned about a sexual assault because it was just about people who weren't happy with the election. Get out of here. Then why were those individuals so comfortable throwing around the N-word and saying that they were going to kill and murder people predominantly who were black, and as a result of that? So it's like, get out of here. This is the mentality of these individuals. It's about oppression and keeping people in their place. Individuals like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yeah. Michael, earlier this week, Tucker was saying, I don't know why Democratic Congress people won't come on my show. They call me a white supremacist, but I don't call anyone names. Why not just talk to me? I don't know. Do you think, should they be more open about going on this guy's show after what you just saw?
And Charlie Kirk earlier this year tried to get Congressman Eric Swalwell on by doing the same thing. Hey, we're trying to show both, no, and he said, you think that there was an insurrection and people died. You don't think that there was an insurrection and people died. And so there is a real disconnection on both sides. But a few things here that are wrong with what Carlson said. First of all, that everybody, and Tucker Carlson knows this well for having been doing this for as long as he has. Everybody knows that the Capitol is not just the Capitol building. It is the office buildings that are connected by hallway and by train, by subway train, private subway train just for the Capitol to the main building of the Capitol. There were people from the insurrection that went into the congressional office building. She heard footsteps. There were police who went to her office knocking on the door that she thought were insurrectionists. Nobody knew what was going on that day. So for her to feel that kind of fear is totally normal and totally natural. And she was right because they killed people that day. So everything she says is right. And the other part of it is that, Tucker Carlson saying what would happen to a Republican? Well, if it was BLM, you saw what happened in St. Louis with the McKinneys standing on their front lawn, and they said that they were afraid that they were going to be killed. They did exactly that, and they were lauded within the community, so much so that they're toying with the idea of running for office now. So they were elevated because of the position they took. They weren't excoriated for it by a lot of people, and so that sort of what if it were? What if it's that? What if Obama did this thing? No, it's unacceptable, and bravo to Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez for saying what she said, in light of the fact that she knew she was going to get this blowback from somebody like Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I cannot imagine what women serving in government in high-profile positions like her, Ilhan Omar, must experience on a daily basis. I can only guess enough to know that Tucker Carlson wouldn't make it a couple of hours, based on how he reacted when protesters were across the street from his house and he freaked out, or when he contacted a foreign national and the NSA looked at one of his letters, and so he spent a week talking about how the NSA was trying to shut down his entire show. He's telling other people that they're too sensitive and that they never stop talking about themselves. But I knew when we played that video last week, I just felt sick, not just because what AOC was describing was so horrifying, but I knew how the right would use it, because I posted a tweet about it and I got a couple of hundred responses from lizard brain conservatives attacking her, often sexually and violently. But it's not about that. But he knows his audience. Like, it's not sexualized, it's not misogynistic, surely. He just chooses to call her Sandy when that's not her name. And he calls her honey coming out of the SOT, even though that's insane. Or saying that she should get therapy because of course women are crazy. And he just chose a photo of her at random that he thought made her look as crazy as possible. But none of this is misogynistic. This is all in her mind. I know that the term gaslighting has been thrown around a lot recently, but this feels like a pretty classic example of it. Yeah, he just chose that randomly. I'm sure he makes up little nicknames for Louis Gohmert when he talks about him too. I know, the whole thing just makes me so sick. Look, I haven't been watching cable news for 20 years or whatever. Maybe it was always like this. Maybe you would work your base up into a rabid froth of hatred against people like this, and that's just the most expected thing. But it feels sick, it feels new to me. I just knew that it was gonna come, and he did not disappoint. We only have a couple more minutes. Any final thoughts about this?
You know what, it seems that something that he's taking advantage of is also the fact that he's conflating this notion that rape and sexual assault, sexual violence is about sex as opposed to power and being able to humiliate someone, having that upper hand on them. And the fact is that when he conflates that and he just makes it about sex, he trivializes it when we know that that is not the case. So essentially keeping his viewers dumb and keeping them peddling these lies and that rape apologists kind of mentality. That is something Tucker is also buying into, because as you have observed, these are his followers, his audience, the people that listen to him. Those people are incels. They have issues with race. They have issues with gender. And as we're gonna see is those people are gonna continue to promote his ideologies in our society, and it's just making us worse as we continue to essentially regress.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.